Hi everyone. I hope you all had a good last 2 weeks. I miss seeing everyone. I can't wait to see you guys back on Tuesday. But in the meantime, let's talk about Kennedy and the Cold War. So this is going to be an introduction to Chapter 28, Section 1. On Tuesday, we're going to get into much more detail about the Bay of Pigs, Cuban Missile Crisis, and really that major Cold War issues that we see during the Kennedy administration. This is just going to introduce you to Kennedy, how he won the election, and his new military kind of doctrine that's a little different from brinkmanship that we saw with Eisenhower and the Truman doctrine that we saw with Truman. So, the main idea and why it matters. The Kennedy administration actually faced some of the most dangerous Soviet confrontations in American history. The Cuban Missile Crisis being probably the most dangerous. Cuba is 90 miles away from Florida, so that had a potential to be very, very scary. Now, why it matters is that America's response to Soviet threats developed the United States into a military power, superpower that we are today. So the election of 1960. The mood of the country was restless. The Americans were worried that they were losing the Cold War. They had the recession during the end of Eisenhower's administration, so people financially weren't doing well. And remember, part of this Cold War is just being the best at everything, and that includes economically. So having a recession doesn't really fit in that idea. You also have Sputnik being launched into outer space before the Americans. That was a humiliating defeat for Americans. They felt, that they're supposed to be this, the best scientific country in the world, and the Soviets beat them at that. And then their neighbor, Cuba, like I said, 90 miles away, just aligned with the Soviets. So they feel like they're just going off a string of losses. On top, you have the Korean War, who was considered a stalemate. You have other nations falling to communism. So there's just this kind of bigger concern that, are we losing this battle? Are we losing this war? And so we have the election in the 1960s, and you have two candidates. You have first Richard Nixon. He was Eisenhower's vice president. He's really hoping to capitalize on the popularity of Eisenhower. He's an experienced politician. He served in the Senate. He was part of that McCarthy era of, looking for communists. And he also, though, comparing him to John F. Kennedy, holds some similar policy beliefs. So he's really hoping that his experience and his connection with the Eisenhower administration is going to propel him into the White House. Now, John F. Kennedy, he's young, charismatic. He's seen as, a likable guy. People are concerned that he does not have a lot of experience. He's young. He's 43 years old. He also is a Roman Catholic, and that was a concern to some Protestant Americans. They were worried that the Pope was going to be running the United States. But two things that really propelled Kennedy into the presidency was his support for the civil rights movement. Martin Luther King Jr. was arrested and put in jail during a peaceful sit-in protest. And the official reason for why he was jailed and sentenced to months long of hard labor was because of an unpaid traffic violation ticket. And Nixon did not respond to this. This was evidently, wrong. He should not be sentenced to months in jail for a parking ticket. And John F. Kennedy actually called Martin Luther King Jr.'s wife and offered, support. And his younger brother, Robert Kennedy, persuaded the judge that sentenced Martin Luther King to prison to actually let him out and to let him free on bond. And the case was overturned. And so that gained a lot of support for JFK. And then on top of that, he performed much better in the first televised debate in American history. So, and you'll watch this video that kind of talks about the strategy and how did John F. Kennedy's TV strategy help him win the election. So take a look at that video when you get a chance. And so, as you guys have probably have heard, one of the common quotes from JFK is, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." So the American public was really fascinated with the Kennedy family. They're this beautiful family. They are the first family that's really, on TV. People are seeing them live, and they're on photographs, they're in magazines. Jacqueline Kennedy has an eye for fashion and culture. They invite many artists and celebrities to the White House. The press loves JFK because he's charming and he has wit. His critics argue, though, that his smooth style lacks substance and that he's not accomplishing as much. He was inexperienced. So his early beginning part of his term was kind of trial and error, trying to figure out how the presidency works. But one thing that did work in his favor was he appointed a good cabinet. He had the best of intellectuals, and the person he was most closest to in his cabinet was his younger brother, Robert Kennedy. He was his attorney general and really a right-hand man in his cabinet. And lastly, new military policy. So you see, Kennedy is concerned that the Soviets were gaining allies in less developed countries in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, that the Soviets' communism was appealing to those nations, and that we were not doing enough as Americans to have those countries be aligned with us. And so he redefines the nuclear policy from that brinkmanship to flexible response. And what that means is they want to fight conventional wars and not rely on nuclear weapons. They want to increase defense spending. They want their special forces like Green Berets to be trained to move in and stop communist revolutions. And while they do triple their nuclear capabilities, they don't want to rely on the threat of nuclear weapons as their main use of policy. And so we'll see how this flexible response policy works in Cuba on Tuesday. Thanks, guys.